I haven't won your drawing yet either. I haven't won yet.
Oh, Nick usually wins every 3 years.
Win after once in a while.
I haven't.
Bring more Flanagan.
He left. He says, "Nah, you're not too fine."
Okay. We have a meeting at 7. Why don't we get started, Mark? I know you got some
Yeah, thank
presentations.
you.
I'll let you take over.
Thanks, Mr. Petrozzi, members of the board. Welcome. Good evening. We have a review session. We are live, being live streamed, and these board meetings, as you know, are getting good viewership, especially on the replays. So, we haven't perfected the slow motion camera yet of any of the approvals, but they are being viewed live. Julie, Jacqueline, thank you for laughing. That's really appreciate it. Earl, you too. So good evening, everybody. We have a multi-pronged budget presentation to begin with. And then I'm going to ask Rick to give you just a very brief overview of the summer programs that we have, followed by 2 agenda reviews. And I need to remind the board and guests that at 7 o'clock we do need to take a vote. We must vote on the budget this evening. And Mr. Petrozzi, members of the board, we also have a need for a brief executive session. It's a 2-item executive session. I'll speak more about that. So let's get started. At 4:30 this afternoon, Ms. Holliday and I watched the governor's budget presentation, and what she announced was they have an in-concept agreement of a state budget. From listening to her presentation, it appears that the necessary information that we're going to receive won't come until Monday or Tuesday at the very earliest. They haven't even signed the budget. They're going to work throughout the night for some other details, and then usually we'll get our budget runs a day or two later. So we are still working without any final numbers. Having said that, I want to at least begin to ask Becky and Julie to give you a three-pronged budget approach. First, I want to go through where we are with the current format and a final number that I'm going to recommend to you this evening. Secondly, we have to give you the tax report card because that has to be mailed out. And thirdly, we've done some work, the young ladies have done some great work already on if, God forbid, and I'll say it that way, the budget doesn't pass with a 50% majority, one more than 50%, what impact that could have. So I will begin and then I'll let Becky and Julie fill in the fine details. We made a very major but conservative assumption that we're going to get another $250,000 in foundation aid. We toyed with that number for about a week, knowing we weren't going to have a budget. But we increased foundation aid $250,000, and on the appropriation side, we appropriated the requisite $250,000 to come up with a balanced budget. And Ray, if you would just slide up a little bit, I want to just show you one thing, and then I'll let the ladies talk through anything we have. And slide just over, Ray. A little more. Something that we've been very cognizant of is that current CPI number for February being 5.72, and our budget number, our increase year to year, at 7.67. Now it's gone up a little bit with the $250,000 we put in, but it's still very much in line. And when you consider that over $4.4 million worth of the expenditures are takebacks from the ARP funding, because we're trying to begin to walk away from that now, we think it's a very responsible budget. That's the only major change, ladies, that you would like to talk about?
Yes, very well said. And again, we did have discussions. We felt that $250,000 was a good estimate for an increase in foundation aid. We do believe that it would likely come to us just as a token, I would think, because the original executive run really put us where the governor planned for us to be in terms of foundation aid. So we do believe if they're increasing aid overall, we will get something, but I don't think it'll be anything more substantial than that.
The reason why, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Becky, but the reason why our thinking went along those lines is because we received our full foundation aid funding, and also we will, if we don't get the $250,000, we will have the discipline to put that in an account and never touch it. We'll never spend it. We'll lock it away in an account that can't be accessed by anybody except for Becky, Julie. If we do receive more than $250,000, and I know, Mr. Velardo, this was a question you asked a couple of meetings ago, unless we increase the budget, we're not allowed to spend that. If we receive more, we feel $250,000 is a good chunk of change, and anything additional then could go into the surplus. So we kind of, Becky, Julie, and I went back and forth throughout the week, thought it allowed us to do what you were speaking of a couple of weeks ago, and still allowed us to say if we got more, God willing, we would lock that money away and contribute it to our reserve account. But we were showing that we do need the money, we do want the money, and we have some thought behind it. The other relief I could tell you is that, and you'll hear this in the property tax report card, and I'll just transparently say it. We are not going to spend every dollar in this year's budget, okay? There is going to be money left at the end of this year. However, we rolled this budget over, so that money will still be available next year to use without any assignment, if you're following my thinking there. The other point to that is, say, for instance, we ever got super tight, which I don't think we will. Not that I want to do this, but Ray, if you'd scroll up. Not that I'd want to do this. A little down a little more. Sorry, I'm sorry, Ray. I want to, no, the other way. Not that I want to do this more. Stop. If we ever got tight, really tight, I would say to you, my God, ladies and gentlemen, we're tight. We're going to have Earl buy patch and paint and keep that CEC roof for another year. And that would free up some additional money. I don't want to say that. I don't think we're going to have to say that. But if, God forbid, it ever got tight, because that roof needs to be done, we would say, stop. I have to tell you guys, we're running too close here. That 1.7, he could spend $40,000, get that place patched up a little bit, and we'd push it off to the next year. I think there is a less than 1% chance that's going to happen. Becky?
I would have to agree, but we do have areas that we can revisit and go to, in terms of need during the year with this budget. I think it is a very responsible number. I think it maintains all of our programs, allows for some growth within programs, and meets the current needs of the district while planning ahead for the future and for the end of ARP funding.
And it really stays in line with the CPI to a degree. And remember, last year we reduced our budget 20,000. So this is really a 2-year growth factor. So members of the board, I'm going to recommend to you tonight at 7 o'clock to pass a resolution to put on the budget ballot a budget for 2022-2023 of $164,895,787. And the only other comment I'll make before we move to questions or the next section is I'd ask Mr. Petrosi before you vote if I may have a few minutes to talk on the public record about that. Before you vote, I'd like to say something on the public record about that number. If you would allow me that before you vote.
Mark, if you don't mind, you had said 164,000, it's 164 million.
164 million, yes. I just see if you're listening. That's what the cost was the last time I went in to get my shirts picked up. It was I had 8 shirts. He said 164. I said $164. No, he said 164,000. I'm sorry, I got confused. Right? It's 164 million. That was my capital cleaners bill. It's all running together for me. So, members of the board and the public that are viewing and staff, thank you. It's a responsible budget, and I'd like to talk on the record about why I think this is the most responsible number to give you. That's all we have here. We do also need to approve, as a second resolution this evening, the property tax report card.
Yep, and Julie's going to speak to that.
Okay, so you'll see the property tax report card. It's included in the packet, and it was also attached to the resolution. And this shows our budgeted amount for this current year, 21-22, as well as the proposed budget for 22-23. So that's where you'll see the total budget amount of $164,895,787. That's a percentage change of the 7.67% we just referenced. You'll see that the tax levy has stayed the same at $25,828,989.
Which is a really important part for the taxpayers.
Correct.
The levy is the same.
Correct.
The levy is the same.
Yep.
You're not changing their levy. Sorry, Jewel.
So yes, no increase. There's that 0% change in line E. And then lines F through H This is just information that's summarized on the tax cap calculation that we presented back in January and February. It just appears here again to show you that that difference, if you wanted to, you would be able to increase the levy $1,259,577 without needing a supermajority. But we are not choosing to do that. We're choosing to keep it the same.
I'd like to just speak on letter I, and you need to correct me if I'm wrong, because I took a double, can you look at number I? I'm sorry, is it I is the
Yeah.
enrollment?
Oh, no, it's
I is
not
the
letter,
difference.
but it's just next
Well,
down,
so you see the column where it says public school enrollment? Yeah,
right underneath that.
yeah. I'll wait till it comes up. I said, this is a very frequent question I am asked in the public, and you may be too. The question is, what is the school enrollment like? Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it staying the same? You can see that our current year reflects 7,081 students, okay? And we are going down 1% to 7,011. That's our projected number. So I get concerned when we're dropping. And let me tell you when we did our look at our 2% cohort survival rate on live birth study, let me tell you where the kids went from what we can discern, or they're anticipated to go. We started before the pandemic with 63 children on home instruction. Home instruction is when the parents write a plan. Actually, Ms. Capone is the home instruction officer. Every 10 weeks, they have to send her a report. As my representative, she reads the home instruction reports. These students don't come to school, they don't participate. There's a provision to allow home instruction if they follow the rules. Marcia does a good job of tracking this and following up on it. Before the pandemic, we were at 63 children. Today's number is 233 on home instruction. 233. We've gone 67, 73, back down to 65, 80, 70. I was looking at the trend. One year we got up a little higher. 233 students on home instruction, which we can't count in that public school number. Now, that's as of today, the 7-11. Some of those parents may come back because of where we are with the world of COVID. Some of them chose to do a home instruction plan because of it, and they've probably finished the year. Some of them may not. Some of them may not. So it's a rationale. I don't know. And again, remember, this is just an estimate. I mean, we're not, if we don't have 711 or 7,011, we're not penalized anyway. Julie has to do her best estimate using those formulas. And I get nervous when the number goes down 1%, because that's what we get asked. What's your population doing? Do you have a question, Mr. Capizzi?
Yeah, quickly. Who pays for that? Home instruction, that's just taken on by the parent?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't have any role in that, other than to make sure they're providing equivalent instruction. So you have to write you have to write a plan. I sign the plan. You have to write a 10-week report. What are you doing? If you don't do it, we give you a warning letter, and if not, there are recourses we have to either make the plan work or bring your child to school, or it could be a neglect call. But that number is significant.
Do those homeschools count with their graduation or next?
They're neutral. They don't count. They don't count. They don't take exams. They don't count, but they can still get into college. They don't count for or against in any way. They're neutral to our graduation rate. Neutral. So it's a significant. You okay, Wes? Yeah. All right. Don't worry about you over there with the TV camera. God. It's the chairs. I told Earl not to go to Raymore and Flanagan. I told him. Earl, I told you. Okay, sorry. Yeah, it's a big number, though. Sorry, I just wanted to point that out, and it's a good question. Mr. Capizzi, Mr. Velardo, yeah, they're neutral. They're neutral. We don't pay for them, they don't count against us or for us.
Did you have to enforce any of that yet?
We have had to, from time to time, call people. I don't have the number, but there's been maybe 4 letters I've signed for it. But it's something we have to monitor. Julie, you want to keep going through the report card?
So the last item on this page is just the Consumer Price Index. That 4.7, that is the state's number as of January. They force us to use that, even though it's been updated on our gap sheet. And the next page, this summarizes all of our reserve balances. So the adjusted restricted fund balances, that's everything we have in reserves, which we'll go through in detail. And then the unrestricted fund balance that's the 4% cap of the unrestricted funds of next year's budget.
Because the budget is rising 7.6%, our 4% that we can hold in unrestricted rises too.
Correct, also increases.
So we will make that number. I'm telling you, we'll make that number.
Yes. So when using this, we estimated that we will have a surplus in this current year in that estimated 22-23 column, which is why you can see not only the unrestricted fund balance going up because the budget's increasing, but also the reserve funds going up.
Right.
And then next is the schedule of reserve funds, and that shows each of our reserves, the balance as of this year, and then our projected balance at the end of 21-22. And then we also have to say any intended use we have for next year's budget.
Go ahead, Ray, raise it a little.
So you can see workers' compensation, which we have no planned use for next school year.
Don't need to, overfunded. It's a joke, it's a joke. Oh, it's a joke to Mr. Petrosi. No, well, the good news is we haven't touched it.
Yes, yes. The reserve for debt, we are using $541,000 of that this current year, and we plan to use $555,000 of that next year. And the last page, we do have the tax certiorari reserve. That reserve was established 4 years ago, and if you do not use the reserve within 4 years, you are required to zero that out and then reallocate that. So we'll be doing that at the end of this school year. And then we also have our reserve for EBLARs, or EBLARs, along with the reserve for retirement, ERS contribution, and also TRS. And in those, we have no plans to use them for the 22-23 school year, just the debt service reserve.
So what Julie did, Russ, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. What we did is we made an estimate. I'll be very transparent about it. We made an estimate that we're going to carry over, and this is not scientific until Drescher and Malecki gets here, that we're going to carry over about $3 million. That the unspent this year will be about $3 million that we have to carry over. And Julie and Becky made a couple of assumptions to get this report card ready. One was where to put that $3 million, and that's what they did. That can be changed.
Yes, this does not hold us to anything. We just decided that first we would max out our TRS contribution and then put some money in ERS, as those are typically large expenses, and we anticipate maybe those rates will increase in future years. And then we just put the balance to the EBLARs. But it doesn't hold us to anything.
Yeah, and Becky tried to come and put it in workers' comp, and I handed her a pink slip. No, it's
Julie, where's that money sit? Just, does it, an interest-bearing account?
Yes, it's in our interest-bearing bank accounts, yes.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The $4 million you have in the TRS fund, or $3 million, whatever way you want to look at it, if we pay that early, we pay that in advance, will we pick up the money it would earn in the next year? In other words, if the market, that figure is based on what we all, based on what money earns, what the projection, the actuarial calculation is. If we put that money into them early, what effect would it have? Would it have any effect except the amount we put in, we would get credit for next year, or would it earn money for next year? Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm asking.
I don't even know if we'd be able to pay it early. It's an invoice that comes, so it's really, we get it usually in August, because once the school year's done reporting in July, so it's based off the actual salaries. So we can't.
Do you kind of budget that now in
Yes.
this budget now?
Yeah.
So if it was a big increase, you'd use the reserves to help offset the cost, correct?
Oh, we could do that, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That I get. I get that.
Yeah.
What I was asking is if it were paid early and it was earning 10%, we get the credit for the 200,000 next year? Just was curious.
It sounds like arbitrage. I don't know.
They do it more.
I don't know what
So there
arbitrage
is
is.
the
Sounds like
actuary
it.
report where it says like what we'll owe, over the long period of time, but how they invoice us now, it's not really an invoice, but it's based on actual. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, I always say to them, why are we still carrying this money? And we didn't get the bill yet. I'm like, okay, like clean it up, So I don't know, so you're asking, can we prepay it almost, Russ? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because if you pay it late, if you owe it, they charge the interest on it.
They don't let you pay late, trust me.
No, because obviously the money earns money. So I'm just curious, if the money earns money, you get credit for it. That's all.
And actually, TRS is deducted from state aid. We don't even make the payment. They just take that
Correct.
payment.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. They just,
I didn't know that.
Well, the rate is set based on market, but
I didn't know that. It comes out of our foundation aid before it comes to us?
yes,
I
are
did
generally
not know that.
in September, October, and November.
I know, God.
But the other, ERS we pay, the other retirements.
You get a bill or an invoice or whatever it is, based on their salaries,
Yep, and TRS is the same, it's just the payment method.
and the number of
is different.
employees or whatever. Yeah, the number of employees, I should say, yeah.
Yeah.
7,011. That's what we're projecting. Yeah, we just figured, Becky and I just figured that out. Remember, Becky? It's about 22,000 change. Yeah, no, but we just figured out, we were asked by Business First how much we spend on per child, right? But it's really an unfair number because we've got some very high-cost special ed kids who cost, and believe me, they deserve it. They cost up here, and then we have other kids that cost here. So it's a bit of an inflated number, but it's about close to $23,000 a kid.
Does anyone know offhand our special ed percentage?
20%.
And what's like, I should say, like other districts around us?
Oh, the state would like us around 8.
No, but I'm
Like district, we're high.
yeah, I mean, like.
We're super high.
Wheatfield, Newport, they're 5%.
8, 12, 14%.
So we're double.
Yeah, we're double. We're at 20% of our 7,011 students are special ed. We're getting into some really, really high numbers there. Those are alarming to the state as to why. And I've had this argument, not to get too deep and philosophical, but the rules for qualifying for special ed never were updated to account for a pandemic. We all know people lost learning time during a pandemic, but the gaps in their learning keep widening, and in some cases, making kids look like they could be special education, even though it could be attributable to 5 to 6 months of learning loss because they weren't in school, they were learning remotely. And, that's forget cost, because we'll have to do what we have to do, but we take very seriously the classification of children as handicapped. But we're currently at about 20%, Russ, and it's double where the state would like us to be, and much higher than other districts, but like districts very close. Utica, Schenectady, those districts are close to us, which is a function of the fact that we educate everybody. We have no choice who comes here. We have no choice of their handicap and condition. Well, you could see the reason it jumped 10% is because it went from 54% to 69%. And just in the last year, the focus on special education graduation rate contributed a lot to that 10% bump. Yes,
Not taking the finals. Is that what you're talking about?
exactly,
Yes.
exactly,
Now,
Mr.
this year, we're
Lawler.
going to go back to the standard, or next year?
So that's a very relevant and pertinent question. We were on a call, Rick was joining me on a call with the commissioner yesterday, and our understanding to your question is Regents exams will be given, okay? How they will be used, or if they will be used, has still not been decided. So every one of our children in a Regents class must sit for the exam. Whether it will be used as a graduation mark or not has not been shared with us. My personal opinion of what they're going to do is they're going to make every kid sit, and I think, and please, to the worldwide viewing audience, including the commissioner, what I think they're going to do is I think they're going to allow us, this is my thought, it's I think, they're going to allow us to take the higher of the score, either the class score or the Regents score, to get the Regents credit. That is just my personal educational thought. But the special education graduation rate contributes mightily to that, to the total graduation rate. Because you guys always ask, yeah, defensive. It is, because you all ask the same question usually at graduation time. How many kids didn't graduate because of exams, right? I mean, you always, how many kids didn't graduate because of phys ed? You know, I know the questions you usually ask. In the special ed realm, the exams are what drag us down. So it will, yeah, it will. It helped us, but it'll help us or it could hinder us this year. I'm hoping that I'm planting the suggestion there, if anyone's listening, that that's the way it should go this year. And I have a really strong belief why, and I was going to get into this in my report later on, but and I'll say it now, because our kids in 3rd through 8th grade are just finishing the ELA today, right, Rick? It's really incongruous to me in a year when kids were in a pandemic still. Kids were in and out of school because we quarantined them. Kids were coming off a pandemic, that they're going to use those 3 through 8 scores to only do one thing, rank schools against each other. And we administered them, the kids did their best, and then I know I will get letters based on this, oh, you just because your kids don't do well, you're saying that. No, I just think it's incongruous with the mental health issues the kids have going on. And I'll give you a further reason, and then we can move on. We had one of the most outstanding presentations yesterday from Lynn Tompkins and Angela Manella at Abbott. And here's what they showed us. And I was particularly thinking of Mr. Petrosi. They have a very high chronic absentee rate still. Kids are not, we're sending them out, they're not coming. There's a very high absentee rate. What is happening, though, are the kids that are coming, their scores are soaring, right? You were all there. They're soaring. And what was even more impressive was their math scores. I was like, holy cow. The math, why did it go up? And what did the first thing they said? We introduced a math AIS program that we want to expand. The kids that are coming, the kids that are being exposed to that, this was what we heard. But Lynn's concern is, I have 120 chronically absent students at Abbott, meaning they've missed more than 20 days. Yeah, 120, the population at Abbott is 739 today. Yesterday, she reported to us 120 chronically absent. What is chronically absent? Have missed more than 20 days. They're not. But the kids that are there, you should see their growth on the NWEA. It's amazing. Amazing. But we're going to get nicked pretty hard, dinged pretty hard because of our chronic absenteeism.
Mark, and I know there's not an answer today, but could you take those students that you just talked about in school and match them to their grades last year and see if the increase is there? I'm curious to see if you take that number of absentee last year, is it class size? Is it the way we're teaching? We're back in school.
Yeah.
Before we could attribute it all to class size.
Yeah, if you don't mind, instead of
I think, you understand what I'm asking? Becky's kind of looking at me.
I do.
It's one of my crazy questions.
No, I get it. I get it.
Okay.
But what I'd ask for your permission is to use Abbott. Abbott's our biggest school. It's our 3 through 6 school. Sure. She's got a lot of schools have it. They all have it. But they got that data like this. She can break it out pretty quickly. The other thing I could tell you, the class size, Mr. Petrosi, that if you looked at our class sizes at Abbott, Niagara Street, Cataract, not so much Hyde Park, some of those schools, Calfus, extremely, the class sizes are really, really low in most cases. I'm talking 20 or fewer. To me, that's low. So she can do a correlation of that.
Thank you.
Anything else on the property tax?
No, not if there's any other questions?
Just for the record?
Yeah.
Homestead, non-homestead are the same rate?
Yes.
Thank you.
Julie, I'd like to do one thing that's not on the agenda for the board, though, and I know you don't have a slide for this, but you will, for April 26th, Julie will have this slide, or Becky will. Together they will. For the first time, and as long as I can remember being involved in the budget, if the budget doesn't pass, the veteran board members know, this budget, because we're not exceeding the tax cap, it only needs one more than 50% to pass. If the budget doesn't pass, God forbid, we would have to eliminate all that outside use of the buildings and the fields and all that good stuff. We also need to take what we're estimating.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
I said that if the budget doesn't pass, and I hope it doesn't happen, for the first time in a long time, we would have to take out all that use of school facility stuff. We'd also have to take out, because this is the way we designed the budget, equipment purchases. And because so many of them are one-shots, for instance, a lot of a lot of department equipment, a lot of Ray's equipment. I've never seen a budget that would cost us $6.7 million, in my estimation, that we would have to take out if it didn't pass. Can you talk about that?
So we'd have to take out $4 million of new smart boards. That's included in the budget to purchase all new smart boards next year. The equipment, we had budgeted $675,000 for new maintenance equipment, and also what would have to come out is the capital improvements to CEC. So that's in there for $2,030,000.
So and what will happen on the 26th for the board members is that Becky and Julie will show you, the PowerPoint that we have to do at the hearing on the 5th, that will be in that PowerPoint. But I thought it used to be $80,000, $15,000 if it didn't, $6.7 million if it didn't pass. Now, we have a good track record, 86% since I've been superintendent, of budgets passing. But if it doesn't, it's a bigger hit than ever.
Well, I think one of the reasons for that is most of those expenditures would normally be in a capital program or a capital referendum.
Yes.
We
Some of it,
don't often put roofs on.
Right, we
out
never-
of the general fund.
We never
have the money.
Right.
So I think that's, if anyone asks that question, this would always be in a capital project most of the time, just so people don't get excited.
Right.
That why, we're
Yeah, that's a
spending
good
all that
point,
money.
Russ. But I also know that Ray has a lot of money in there we have to update our smart boards. And you all know about the conversations that Earl's had with you about his needs for equipment. That all would have to come out. No window, no lift, I'm sorry, Mr. You had to bring it up. No
What do you do with
lift.
the old ones, Mark?
The what?
Smart boards.
Ray?
Are they junk or?
Well, they're still usable. We could repurpose them, but functionally, the new guys coming in have a casting environment. No one's going to want to use the old guys, but they're still functional to a certain degree. We own them.
Well,
Yes.
what we would like to do is have a big 12-foot white table on Main Street in front of a building and just get a shirt and a smart board. It was a new suggestion I had. No, I'm kidding about that too, everybody. Thank you. Any questions for our finance team? And again, members, I just would like to make a statement about this board before you vote on it. I just think there's some things I'd like to put on the record that you did. Okay?
Thank you.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Mr. Corella, would you share, this is a very early look, very early, it's only April, of what we want to offer this summer to kids. And I have to tell you, that is one of the brightest backgrounds I've seen in the history of presentations.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was aiming for, Mark. Hello, everyone. So as the superintendent said, we've got very solid plans for this summer, and actually, much of this is already set in stone. It's been staffed, and we're moving forward with final phases of planning to include, after the spring break, our applications will begin to go out for several of the programs, and we'll begin blasting information to parents and families so that they are aware of what's being offered this summer and they can begin to sign up.
Online only, Mr. Corella?
That's the case, yes. We will probably have, just as we did with the pre-kindergarten programs, all of our applications will be digital with a QR code. We will, for those families that have any issues with access, we'll have a very small number of hard copy applications for the various programs available in the school offices. But for the most part, even last year, most of our parents signed up online, and it worked very well. It's very expedient, it's very quick. And so, for example, with our ELP program, parents will be getting a one-page flyer that has all the information that they would need on it with the QR code at the bottom. So as soon as they get it, either from their school or from their child, they can quickly just take a quick picture or use a QR reader from their phone and sign up in a matter of seconds. So it's very, very quick. Oh, it helps if I turn this on. Speaking of technology. Here we go. Okay, so what are we offering this summer? These are the main categories. At the elementary level, we have the elementary ELP program and the Enl program. We have programs at the prep level, the high school, and then the P-TECH program. So you've heard a little bit about that this year. I have a slide in here that recaps what's going on this summer with them, and then special education.
I just want to say, we had an audit today. We had our first we have 5 audits going on. Today was our first 2 in-person state groups. One of them was our 21st Century grant. Heard we knocked it out of the park. Second was our P-TECH audit that Rick attended for me, and I think Rick's going to tell you it was incredible. And how was that P-TECH audit?
It was great. We had a panel of our students. We had 3 state evaluators here. Actually, there are only 3 NYSED personnel that oversee all of the P-TECH programs in the district. There are approximately 42, I believe.
Right.
So there are 3 full-time coordinators. All 3 of them came to the Buffalo area over the past couple days. They went to Lackawanna, Buffalo, I believe Cheektowaga, and then we were their final stop this morning. So when they came to the high school, they met with us as well as 8 of our P-TECH Cohort 1 students, and they got to interview them, which was really good for them to hear directly from students. We presented them with all of the grant mandated activities that we've done so far. Then we brought in our partners so that they could talk to them about the relationships and programming that we're building. So they met with Amy Puka, our evaluator, so we talked about how we're evaluating the first year of the program. Monica Lapoita from NCC came, so we talked about the connection between the college and the school district and what we've done programmatically. Then we finished off with John Simon from Stavati Aerospace, so we talked quite a bit about what we're doing with our business partners and the experiences that we're giving our kids in local industry. So that worked out well.
I was just talking to Mr. Velardo during dinner, and one of the things, Judy, that I want to talk about is when the state conference comes to Syracuse, I'd like to submit a joint application for a presentation between P-TECH and our building trades program to be a presentation to the state, because I think that those are exceptional. P-TECH, like Rick said, there's 42 of them in the state, but I think ours is the best. But it also is a pathway next to the construction trades. And, you know, the governor said in her budget announcement today, the money going to construction trades is the most ever in all the projects that were laid out for infrastructure. So I want to, you know how when those calls for proposals come out, Judy, I want to enter a proposal for both of those. And now that we have an articulation agreement with unions for a direct entry program, the only one in the state, I think that'll set us apart. Sorry, Rick, but your P-TECH comment made me want to tell them. We still, just so you know, we still have 3 audits outstanding. We have the IRS audit that Becky, Maria, and Julie submitted. We have the Title I audit, and we have one more that I can't.
Pre-K.
And we have the pre-K audit. Pre-K audit is the end of the month.
Yes.
And
It's right after the break.
right after break. And Title I is, no, IRS is the 19th, 20th, and 21st. And then UPK is the end of the month, and I don't know when Title I is. June?
Well, we've submitted everything. They're reviewing it, and I believe it's June 14th.
Yeah.
Where they'll work
All right.
with us and ask us any questions.
Just what we have lots of time to do, get ready for audits. Go ahead. During budget and during the vacation. That's okay. We're here 24/7, like Frankie's Donuts. Go ahead, Rick.
No, Frankie's closes now.
Do they? We're here 9 to 3, just like Capitol Cleaners. That's all. Go ahead, Rick.
So here's some general information. I split this into 2 columns here because the programs on the left follow the exact same calendar. The programs on the right deviate a little bit. So just to give you a really quick glance, Camp Wolverine, the elementary program, prep and high school credit recovery, the summer sports and enrichment program for grades 7 through 12, they all run for students from July 11th through August 11th. They're 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. There's busing provided and also meals as well. Some of the programs have breakfast and lunch, some just lunch. And then the summer sports and enrichment program begins on July 12th. We give everything 1 day to settle down with students coming in and out. And then the camp that runs the sports, they will get mandatory training on the 11th so that they're ready to receive students on the 12th. The other programs on the right-hand side, the Enl program, our special education extended school year program, and the P-TECH programs run on a different schedule. They are Monday through Friday. The Enl program is for our elementary students. It's an extra burst on top of the ELP program. So our hope is that Enl students attend our regular elementary extended learning program and then come back for a 6th week where they work in a project-based program with just their ENL teachers and their peers, and they weave parent involvement into that program and a family celebration at the end of it. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. The P-TECH cohorts, both 1 and 2, have parallel activities going on from July 11th through the 22nd. That's 10 straight days. And then the special education extended school year program, that runs from July 6th through August 11th. And that is 5 days a week. That for those students that have 12-month IEPs, we have to have a certain number of instructional days during the summer. So it necessitates a longer calendar.
And the P-TECH 9th graders get their first college class. They get their first college class. What is it, Rick?
It's 2 credits. It's MET.
So is it CAD?
Yes.
They get CAD. 44 kids get CAD this summer. So, and they get college credit for it from NCCC.
Yeah.
That's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So the elementary programs, just quickly here, our 2 locations for this summer will be G.J. Mann and Hyde Park School. It's for students exiting grades pre-K through 5. Last year, we added pre-K. We had not done that before. That was well received by parents and families, and it was also well attended. So we're going to keep exiting pre-K4 students. This is, I want to make, I want to clarify, it's not for students who are 3 turning 4. It's for the students who are 4 turning 5. So the kids who are exiting the pre-K 4-year-old program who are entering kindergarten will have that summer program option. That is a full-day program. In the morning, there's academic enrichment in English language arts and mathematics, and it's supported, the other pieces of that program, for our students with differing needs. We have ENL teachers to support ENL students. We have special education teachers to support students with IEPs, and we also make extending the reading recovery program part of ELP. Then in the afternoon, that's facilitated by the Boys and Girls Club. We have a contract with them, and we also supplement that afternoon portion with different sports and recreation activities that we bring in to kind of be a one-for-one match with what the Boys and Girls Club offers. So we're in development and getting contracts lined up, but some of what we have so far, we have an arts and crafts program. We have an agriculture program that's connected to the Farm to School grant that Mr. Ruffalo facilitates for us. We are having dance and physical education classes. Our teacher, who is our sister school dance and PE teacher, wanted to bring her program that she recently developed, and Nick, you saw her present at the district parent meeting last week. So we wanted to bring that to a wider audience. So she's going to work in our ELP program and toggle back and forth between the 2 sites. We also have Master Ketchens coming in, and he'll have karate classes for our students in the afternoon. So we're continuing to build that out. The ENL program is the standalone from the 15th to the 19th of August. I think I mentioned what it entails. There will be some cultural celebrations as well as other language-rich activities. The culminating parent and family celebration will be on that Friday, and this program will be housed at Kelfis Elementary, which is where approximately half of our ENL students attend. At the prep and high school level, we have the need for credit recovery for students who weren't successful in their courses throughout the school year. So the prep program, as it was last summer, will be in person at Niagara Falls High School. So that's for students that are exiting grades 6 through 8. It will have all 4 core academic areas: English language arts, math, science, and social studies. The high school program will have more students in it. So as we did last year, this will be a hybrid delivery. We will have remote instruction, both synchronous and asynchronous, with in-person assistance, and that's what I mean by hybrid. Students who, for whatever reason, may not function well remotely and learn well from home, they have the option of coming into the high school. And we have staff that will be working with them in in kind of like an academic center setting, almost like a collegiate protocol. We will have Regents Prep included, and we're very fortunate because at the time that we planned this, we did not know whether or not we would have Regents exams. Now we know that we will. So we purposely aligned the calendar so that the end of the program will flow into the Regents examination window. In the summer sports and enrichment program, I mentioned earlier that begins July 12th. Lunch and busing is provided. That's for our secondary kids in grades 7 through 12. These are all of the different activities that are being offered. You'll notice that some are in yellow. I wanted to highlight them because they are new for this year. These were based on student and parent request. The first thing that we heard is that they would like more offerings for just female students. So we've added cheerleading, girls basketball, and girls volleyball. Also, soccer is growing in popularity, so for the first time ever, we're going to have a co-ed soccer program.
What
So
about
we'll-
bowling?
Pardon?
Bowling?
Did I not put it on
No,
there?
it's on
Oh,
there.
that's, no, it is there.
No,
It
you
is-
snuck it on, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, Mr. Fuller. I'm sorry, Mr. Bilson, I was,
Are we not going to try rowing again?
No, we had very few students participate, and the cost was very, very high.
Was it?
It was very high. Yeah, if
Those that participated enjoyed it, I will tell you.
Well,
And-
I'll
and-
tell you
and
what.
they were asking if we were
I
going
will
to
tell
bring it
you
back.
what. I have a call with them in May, and we have to, in order to make it cost efficient, we'll have to meet
There has to be more
a
participation.
minimum
Yeah.
threshold to justify that cost. That's all I'd say.
It's understood. Thank you.
it was a very, very small group of students who wound up going.
Yeah. But I do hear I do hear you, they liked it.
Yeah. And P-TECH, as we were discussing earlier, the cohort 1 kids will be going into 10th grade, so they're going to get their first college course, as Mr. Lurie said. It's MET 110. It's Introduction to CAD, Computer-Aided Design, with two-dimensional drawing. This is a 2-credit college course, so they'll be earning their first 2 college credits, and they haven't even entered 10th grade. The cohort 2 students that we're recruiting currently, those kids will be in the Intro to P-TECH camp, which you heard a little bit about. You saw the video earlier in the year. We are not going to make many revisions to the way that program ran. We were very happy with it, and we got outstanding feedback on it. So we're going to use the same format and the same slate of activities for it.
We haven't picked all of our students for the P-TECH.
55,
How many?
55 applicants.
Ooh.
For cohort 1 is 44.
Yes.
Cohort 2 interest is 55. They haven't all signed.
Okay. So that's shared between both LaSalle and
Right,
Catskill.
that's between both. Here's an interesting, it's 54, and here's why I know it's 54. 27 boys, 27 girls.
Beautiful.
It's 54, and I also know, in a statistical anomaly, 60% of the 54 are minorities and 40% are white. Why is that an anomaly? Because our district is 60% minority, 40% white. Yeah. It is a perfect reflection of 54 kids of the gender and racial makeup of the district.
The interesting, we didn't have time, much time to catch up today, but one of the things that the state evaluators were most impressed with this morning was how many girls we have in the cohort. That apparently that is not the norm statewide.
Well, it's because we have Miss Dunn on the board. That's what I would have said. I don't know. Yeah, girls are. I think that's great. I mean, talk about women in math and science. It's great.
They were really pleased. And then our special education programming, I talked a little bit about the extended school year programming. And then you're very used to hearing about Camp Wolverine. We're definitely going to run those programs again. Those are for our functional life skills students to help them maintain their academic and social skills throughout the summer. We have a variety of different field trips, activities, and supports built into to those programs. It runs by level. There are 3 different age groups. And then the extended school year program is for students with 12-month individualized education plans. So that will be at Cataract Elementary and Niagara Falls High School. And there will be a few extended school year classes also at Calfus, because if you recall, we added some classes that we took back from out-of-district placements this year that are over at Kelfis. So we're going to keep those students in their home school, in that familiar environment. And the number of classes is small enough that it won't impede summer cleaning and other preparation for the opening of school.
I liked how you zhizhed up the slides, the
You
color,
like that?
the robotic guys.
Yeah, he even has bangs like I do, yeah.
He was never this funny until we started working together. It's just amazing the humor that he brings forth now. I know. That's great, Rick.
He was kind of more
Reserved. Yeah. Not anymore, Tony. No. Not anymore. Oh boy. He could be like Earl's attorney. He gets on me that much. So.
Any other lingering questions? Right after spring break. Monday the 25th, check your children's book bags. Hopefully they'll make it home. But we're going to blast it out on all of our socials. Mr. Laurie's going to make it part of his calls. We're asking the principals to post them in each building, like by the exit and entry doors. So when parents are picking up their students, they can just snap a picture of the QR code and make it as easy as possible.
Do you remember correctly, last year we struggled a little bit with enrollment on some of the things? So we're doing the same things and then some this year?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, some changes. Yeah. Yes. I think some of that had to do with a little COVID fear, but but we have to promote the heck out of this because, first of all, the governor spent a lot of her time talking about child care and the money she's putting into child care. Well, this is more than child care. This is 25 weeks of activities free to kids if you want to take advantage of it, both academically and athletically, recreationally, and socially. We're keeping kids engaged in almost full year school, in a way. So, great job, Rick.
Oh, can I
You could, hey, ask him anything you want.
Real quick, this is kind of a comment type thing. At the Nationals in San Diego, we sat, Mr. Bass and I sat through a career tech little presentation. And what they were talking about was real similar to our P-Tech, how they only have X amount of students, the applications. They had a company that makes forklifts, Crown or something like that, and they sponsor a lot of stuff because they were lacking on employees. So after the thing was over, we talked to them a little bit, and then we told them what we're doing, and they were like impressed. So if we get an email or a letter or something, and it comes by, it's a school, I have it written down at home, but it's a school district out of North Carolina, and they were astonished that we could produce a 2-year degree with a high school diploma on the same day. Right. And they were like, whoa. Yeah. But they have the same summer thing, so, which is good. But again, I'm going to speak for this guy over here. We try to be as cutting edge as we can here in this district. And I am proud to say that we are.
Thank you.
Thanks.
But it's good to know that.
We'll get a free forklift out of it for Earl.
He would love it. I guess they're made very well.
Yeah, we won't take that lift out of the budget, Earl, so we get a free one. Do you know Crown? Is that the company? Really? Okay. Thank you, Rick. Great job. Ray, Judy, Maria, we have 2 agendas to review for you, and then we'll make it in plenty of time for our 7 o'clock vote. The first agenda is for tonight. It is a short one. It looks like such on the screen. Special meeting. So at 7 o'clock, members, you'll do your normal pledge and prayer and roll call. We have one bid. The one bid is for, remember, you allocated $250,000 for musical instruments. We added $100,000 more. We needed to refresh that bid. We have $75,000 worth of requests. So there are about 6 companies I have them somewhere. Music and Arts, Washington Music Center, KNS Music, Melhart, that were the apparent low bidders, and we want to get the staff their musical instruments and sheet music and whatever they wanted off of the new bid, so we were within the bidding window. Is that correct, Becky?
That is correct. And these are items that were on the original bid that for various reasons the vendors could not fulfill, because that original bid was almost 3 years ago.
Remember, we put it out a couple years and then didn't buy them because of the pandemic. We have to fulfill everything they asked for. So that's why that's the only difference on there. Then I'm going to ask to speak, once you get this on the floor, Mr. Petrosi.
Lori?
Yeah.
Did we keep up our contact with that group that gave us all those instruments from,
Music is Art, Robbie Take, yes, we have. We haven't gotten any recently, but we still speak to them. They've gone to some other school districts with their wares. But we got quite a few good instruments, Mr. Bilson, from Music is, are you familiar with Music is Art? Yes. They're all at Abbott, for the program at Abbott. That's where we left a lot of those instruments. I want to speak once you get that on the floor, Mr. President, about there's my budget, our budget. Then there's the property tax report card. I have a brief report, and then it's yours. That's tonight's agenda at 7 o'clock.
Judy, do we have a speaking session on the budget? A special meeting, or does
on
anybody-
May 5th, what will happen on May 5th at 7 o'clock is Julie and Judy will present about a 25-page budget, a lot of slides.
No, actually, the question I'm asking, public speaking session. Do we allow, is there a public speaking session on a special meeting on the subject?
You have a public hearing on the budget on May 5th.
We haven't done one, but you can do one if you want.
No, I'm just asking if it's,
Yeah.
is it, when you have a special meeting, the way, and I could be wrong, it's been a while, is there a public speaking session on the agenda item of the special meeting?
Now I understand your question. There is a sign-up sheet in the back, as Mr. Massaro suggested. It is not formally on the agenda, but
Gotcha.
anyone would be interested in.
So that'll come after roll call?
Sure.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm doing it right, that's all. That's what I thought.
Sure. Any other questions? Ray, would you go now? The next meeting that we have, remember, folks, is on a Tuesday. It's on Tuesday, April 26th. If you'd scroll back, Ray. Why? Because we want to approve the Boces budget before the Wednesday when they have to vote on it. So we've invited Boces representative. I've invited the superintendents of all the districts to come here for dinner and to watch our board meeting, maybe learn some things, I don't know. We've invited them. We'll go through the Boces presentation. I want to give you just a quick head start update, and then Julie and Becky will show you the full 25-page budget hearing presentation.
Russell, that takes the place of the Thursday to 28 meeting, correct?
Yes.
So the special meeting is just in place of our normal. We're just switching the Thursday to the
Yes.
Tuesday, if I remember correctly, correct?
You're correct.
Definition is different date than regular meeting.
Yeah.
Today is a special meeting, one agenda item.
So special doesn't mean an additional, it just means,
Just means we vote at 7.
it's special because it's Tuesday, not Thursday.
Tonight would normally not be a regular meeting. It's a special meeting to approve the budget.
Gotcha.
And
It's a format, it's on words. Special meeting is for special, it's not a planned meeting.
And it's not on a normal day.
it's not
It's not
a,
on the
It's not on
normal
the
day.
fourth Thursday.
it's not on the 4:30 for a planned voting time. This Tuesday meeting replaces the Thursday meeting that month. So there's one meeting, the 26th. And then the 28th, you're free to, I'll be working with the rest, you're free to do what you need to do. I'll be here tonight. That night of the draft? It is the night of the football draft, Tony. So Tony will be glued to his set until 11:45 to see the wide receiver that the Bills take. Okay, Ray, now we're good to go. I just make it a shot.
Good, that's what I was thinking.
On Tuesday, the 26th, you've got the normals. Your friends and ours from NSBA, Patrick Longo and Linda Hoffman. I think if you remember, they did this virtually last year. They want to recognize you for 3 programs that you started. See those 2 champion banners back there? You're going to get 3 more for 3 programs. Am I allowed to say, Judy, what they're for or no?
You weren't supposed to, but go ahead, Mr. Lewis.
I will anyways. One is the post-secondary plan that you're doing, you know, all the getting kids out of school into businesses. The New York State School Board thinks that's great. That's why I think we should present it. Number 2, at Niagara Falls High School, they put together a special giving plan when the school was having some problems at the beginning of the year. They rallied the kids together and they put stickers on the wall for things they could do to care for each other. They thought that was a unique and interesting thing. And thirdly, they've taken notice of our unified sports program. You know, our unified program is when we have a special education student and a partner. It is, yeah. So you're being recognized because we have one of the finest unified programs in the state, and they wanted to recognize you for supporting the unified, all the money you allocate to unified sports, including bowling. So that's what they're going to talk about when they come here from NSBA, and we'll let them present.
Could we maybe get a duplicate banner and put it at the schools that
Sure.
are being recognized?
Sure, right.
Because the kids would never see
It's a
it.
good idea. That's a good idea. Another one. That's why they're dry cleanable. I know it. Yeah.
I want to get Colvin in here.
Yeah. So if I go to 402, Mr. Bilson's I'd like him to introduce this budget transfer. Budget transfer number 9. It's a song we've been waiting a year to hear him sing.
So when's he saying this? What night is he saying this?
It's the 26th. The song he's writing is budget transfer number 9.
I don't know, I'm on social media a lot, and I think Earl Bass has a better place, so he might have to sing that song.
Earl Bass and Mr. Bilson will duet budget transfer number 9.
I think his dance moves are better than yours, too. He's in an incredible mood.
I just want you to hold that thought, though, about budget transfers, because I'm going to come back to that in about 2 minutes. You've no bids, right, Beck? Maria, do you have reports tonight? She'll come up in a moment. We have a guest speaker that's coming in to speak to the kids at LaSalle and other schools. This is one of the CNN heroes. I can't recall his name, but I'll get it from you. CNN has featured this young man. He's done some amazing things in Chicago. The kids and teachers have found him, and he's agreed to come here and speak to all of our kids. He's a student. Reverend Copeland does a mentoring program for youth. He'll do it for the last 2 months at Gaskill and LaSalle. It's paid for out of the My Brother's Keeper Fund, or it will be. And then Elizabeth Shatram is a dyslexia specialist. This is on there to satisfy and avoid an impartial special education hearing. This is some compensatory tutoring that prior to getting into an impartial hearing we're going to do to satisfy the student and the parent. Moving on to new business. We're the fortunate recipients of some additional special ed money this year. We got an additional grant for $401,189 for our special ed grant, so we're asking you to accept that. We finally got approval for the American Rescue money, which we've been spending, by the way. That grant is $30,138,317 we need approval on. And this was a nice gift from the Buffalo Bills Foundation. They gave us $3,000 towards our girls' flag football team. Good. And you know, we got girls' flag football going. Yeah.
How's that?
50 girls. 50 girls signed up. The coach is one of the football coaches named Jason Vranick. He's you know him? He's a good man. He's coaching the 50 girls. Now, I don't know how many not that they cut people, but they have to be eligible and all that. So I think it's down a little bit, down to 25 kids. They practiced. Leah Ponticello is the coach too. Jason Vranick. I've seen some of our other boys football coaches, and I'm pretty convinced that the girls have a good chance to win. At any rate, the Bills gave us $33,000, and that's what that grant is for. Yeah, it did stop, Rob. It's pretty cool. We're one of 10 districts in the league. 3,000 or 3,000. The league has 10 schools. I'm probably predicting that we'll be undefeated.
Is Orchard Park in it?
I don't know the other schools.
Probably know the ref, and they'll cheat.
We'll check that out.
File a complaint already. Should we file a complaint?
Well, I'll call the league and, yeah. I think it's kind of like good fun for the girls. I don't know if it's about winning, but
I
it's,
coached the junior-senior game. That was all business.
okay.
Yeah, but anyways, you gotta win at all costs. But anyways, go on.
All right. Do they have this fun at the other board meetings when you went to the conference? We're getting $15,000 from the city for the OSC TV station from the Cable Commission dues. Mr. Massaro has arranged that. Becky collects for the district funds for private and parochial schools. Is this money we collected or pay?
This is money that we bill other districts for.
Right.
We also pay those bills to other districts so it's a routine item.
Our Earl conducted our fire safety report. Any comments on it for the board?
No, all buildings passed, a few small findings here and there. The largest finding was probably we had a snow blower stored in an entranceway when the fire department showed up, and they slapped us on the hand and said, we gotta find a better place for that, which we did. And
Yeah. It was convenient for the sidewalk, though.
it would have never happened in a fire inspection in the summer because the snow would have been stored. It wouldn't have been out because it had been used. So, that being said. It's like space heaters, actually. Remember the space heaters? Right. Yeah, so, I mean, there really wasn't that many findings. We did well. Given the time of year, the field houses, we pulled the fire extinguishers out of those, not the field houses, but the press boxes, because they'll freeze. So that was a finding that Boces found, because the safety wristband is the Boces to our press boxes, so we put them out now that the fear of freezing is over, and cracking them. Other than that, it's pretty smooth. I'm happy to say.
Oh, it's a great job. Thank you, Becky, as the Director of Maintenance Services overall. It's really well done. This is the Boces administrative budget. Maria and Mr. Fisher are getting ready. Remember, we have the code of conduct, the safety plans, and the district-wide safety plans. Those have to be approved. They have committees working on them, and these are annual reports. You'll also have a public hearing on these on May 18th. Judith Gregory has 612. Judith?
I'm sorry, what was that?
612 is
Judith
yours?
Gregory, that's a throwback.
Judith Glasser!
Wow.
My bad.
Well, I was
I'm
looking
sorry,
around.
Judy.
Wow.
Judy, I'm sorry.
It's
I
quite all right.
apologize.
I'm
was
thrilled.
thinking about that capital cleaners bill.
It
I'm
must be
sorry.
because I cut my hair short again.
I'm
That's
sorry,
what it is.
Judy. My bad.
Yes, that is, 612 is the annual contracts that we have with the Board of Elections in order to borrow, rent, utilize their voting machines.
Everything's still smooth with that?
Perfect in every way.
Good. 613, we allow Niagara County to use parking adjacent to the Elmwood building, and there are signs there, because it backs up to Trot. This is a renewal of what I believe is a 5-year lease. The 5 years came up, and we're going to be good partners to the county who runs Trot and allow them to park against the back wall.
That's correct. In return, they maintain the property around the site.
Right, right. 614 is a no-cost ability for us to get a mobile mental health clinic to the high school for additional mental health services. It's a mobile clinic that will come and provide, this is requested by the high school. There's no cost to the district, but it is agreement that we're getting all the proper indemnifications and sign-offs and parent permission to provide more mental health counseling to our students. 615 is the negative declaration of a seeker, because we're going to install a playground at Niagara Street School this summer. And to be where belt and suspenders, we did a negative deck on the seeker, and Earl is in the process of procuring and setting up installation of a playground at Niagara Street School. It's one of 2 schools that don't have an adjacent playground. Hyde Park is the last school that doesn't have one. So Niagara Street was part of something that we promised during the sister school program. They wanted it's a primary playground, right?
That's correct.
Will we still maintain any contact with the one next to the Cobans that Ronnie did?
No, this will be totally separate and distinct on that concrete pad. You know that large concrete pad? Yes, on that large concrete pad. The school requested they want to be able to get out for recess and get kids on a safe park, at a safe playground, and not have to go down to Gill Creek. They want to get out quick and go, and we did sell this to the parents for the sister school plan. They didn't want time spent traveling down to Gill Creek. We do have money, is it ARP funds? We're using some of our ARP funds for this. Oh, no, we're using all of them. We're using ARP funds to do this. And the Niagara Street School and their team and Earl designed it. So we got input from the stakeholders on it. Okay, 616, 617, and 618. Remember I said hold budget transfer number 9? With the Head Start program, and it's really Richard, if he has to move $5 from one line in the budget to the other, they want a full board resolution. The way we do it is we give you budget transfer 1, 2, 3, and do it with one resolution every month. They want every time Richard, under Becky's watch, moves $1, they want a board resolution. So these are very small transfers, Richard? Okay. Some are small, but if it's $5, you still have to do this. That's just federal bureaucratic paperwork. And then the last resolution for this month is a payment to UNS Services. They're putting in our additional cameras. This payment is for $37,362.23. Those are the payments. There's the May 5th public hearing at 7 o'clock. And here's one for you, Mr. Capizzi. In May, the board meetings are on a Thursday and a Wednesday. So the 18th is on a Wednesday, and the reason for that is that at 8 o'clock that evening, we have to, by statute, certify the board election and budget vote, the budget tally. It has to be 23 hours after the election. I have no idea why, but that's why we do it then. Yeah, it's more bureaucratic, whatever. That's it. Folks, remember, you're not voting on any of these tonight. Maria, do you have a personnel report? I can do it. Sure, go ahead. I'm sorry, Judy, I apologize. That's how young you look. I don't know why I slipped. I don't know. I was trying to think of her middle name. Judith Mary, and Heim. That's where I was going with it. Yep. Yeah.
Stars on them. That's not me.
Oh, good. You do have a lot of stuff here, Maria.
Yeah.
Good for you, girl.
We worked pretty hard, Mr. Laurie, you know.
I didn't think it was just Becky and Julie. I thought it was you, too.
You know, feet up, cold drinks, that's all that happens in the HR office. Anyway,
Funny like Corella she is. Funny like Corella.
beginning with the certificated report, you're seeing 2 retirements. You're seeing the appointment of a probationary speech teacher. We are appointing that teacher this year, and she will continue on into next year. That's in addition to the budget. Regular substitute 60-day conversions. I know that since our last meeting, Mr. Laurie shared with you the statistics that you asked for. The first 2 that you see there are revisions for their salary. The third one is a new person who converted after your last meeting. Then you'll see leaves of absence. And what you're seeing on page 3 through the end, and you'll see in the next report, is everything that Mr. Corella reported on you in that very brightly colored slide presentation that he had. You're going to see, these are all the people that are going to be staffing that. So Mr. Corella puts out the postings, we have staff respond to them, and here you see who's going to be working over the summer.
Are you ahead of this game?
We're a little ahead of this game, yes.
Huh?
Yeah,
I think Maria's actually, is there not enough for you to do down there in HR?
it's coming, Mr. Laurie.
We never have those names this early who's teaching summer school. And there will be ads to it.
Yeah, oh, there's going to be a lot of ads, yeah.
You have 2 retirements, though, board members. You see 2 retirements.
2 retirements. Two good teachers who
2
are
good
leaving us.
teachers. Gosh.
Yep.
I'll go beyond that. 2 excellent teachers.
Well-deserved retirement, but we wish they weren't going. Next is your classified report.
Yeah.
You're seeing there, again, 2 retirements, a few resignations in this classified staff, some probationary appointments, some temporary appointments, and then voluntary, involuntary transfers, leaves of absence, and some additional hours here for some summer work for the credit recovery and prep school and extended learning program, and some pyramid model training folks that we didn't put on the last report. Again, this report will be supplemented before your next meeting as well.
Right. And again, you've got about 2 more weeks to get any starred items, but this is pretty good work so far.
You're working pretty hard.
I'm pretty impressed with how far ahead of the game you are.
Now, Mr. Laurie, the calendar. And
Here we go.
Very enjoyably and coincidentally, and it's kismet, we have with us this evening Mr. Dave Glahey. Mr. Glahey is the chairperson of the NFT calendar committee.
So I want to compliment Maria and Dave. What happens is I say, Maria, can you get the calendar done for next year? She says, of course. And then because it's a partnership that we have with NFT, Dave is their chosen representative, and they go back and forth to work out a fair calendar and also accommodates the state requirements of number of days and includes, I think in most cases, the superintendent's conference days.
Correct. And remember, we've also moved to the 900 and 990 that Julie Jacqueline helps us with. Those are the hours that we have to have for the students in addition to the 180-day requirement.
And I want this calendar, if you choose to approve it, I want the rest of the staff to know the calendar for next year now. People often make plans, and I think the earlier the better. You're gonna have, like, I have to find work for you this summer. Go ahead, talk
So-
about the calendar,
Well, what
Maria.
I wanted to tell you very quickly, because I know you have to start your meeting, is that I met with CSEA this morning regarding the calendar. I did speak very briefly to the president of ASC, and I'm having another meeting with him on Monday. But we are pretty confident in the calendar that you have in front of you right now. But there may be some changes. And here, I'll just go through the highlights with you. We have the first day for students is going to be Tuesday, September 6th. That's the day after Labor Day. Mr. Laurie and NFT have negotiated with us a remote learning day, which is going to be in November.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. Can I? You know how we have so many snow days? And again, I think it really was Mr. Glahey's idea, not me, because it was a good one, and I'm certainly one to give credit. You know how we used our 3 snow days? And I say, okay, we're either going to have to take a day off of Easter or use a remote learning day. We haven't used a formal remote learning day. We haven't done it. And the efficacy of instruction and teaching and computers in Ray's area and Rick's scheduling and for the teachers to do it, what we're going to build in is one remote learning day into the calendar to, not practice, to do it before we have to use it, because we've never done it. And I don't want to just say, hey, tomorrow's a remote learning day, good luck, Rick, take care of this, Ray, take care of that, Maria, take care of that, teachers, take care of that. So what we did, I think we did it, Maria.
Yep. November 8th.
November 8th is election day. Is that election day?
Yes, sir.
November day is election day. And because I disagree with schools being used as polling sites for voting because of safety, and because that won't change, and I don't want to call a superintendent's conference day, we're going to use November 8th as a remote learning day and promote it and bill it, so that if we have to use if we exceed our snow days, we can call a remote learning day, and I can say to you, how did it go? Well, we tried it before it snowed. I hope it doesn't snow before that. Ray's computers aren't right. Rick doesn't have a good schedule. The teachers are confused. I don't want that to happen, when we have to use it maybe 2 or 3 times. We need to actually do it and tell everybody it's like we start fire drills by telling them you're going to have a fire drill. Then by the last one, you just have them. We've never really done it. Other districts say they're doing it, but I want to make sure that the remote learning day, which the state is going to allow as a permanent option in the future, we've actually done it. And then we debrief on it and say, okay, what technology screwed up or went well? What curriculum problems were there? What HR problems were there? Those individuals like associates and maintenance people, they'll work like normal. We're just going to try this live with the staff and students. So it forces us to get our technology out, gives us 10 weeks to do it, Ray. And I could really say to you that those are not days that, are just days to call days and pretend like we're doing something. They've got to mean something. And we have the biggest district other than Buffalo, who's called 80,000 of them. I want to make sure it's got efficacy of learning and instruction and good practice. Sorry for that long-winded speech, but I think you get my point. Sorry, Maria.
The only other highlights is that even though we have this remote learning option, we do negotiate emergency closure days, and they are listed in the calendar. We have the ability to take up to 11 days in the calendar with our paybacks listed in there. And we have in there 4 superintendent conference days at each level. So those are the highlights of the calendar. The details are there in front of you. As I mentioned before, we've worked on this with most of our units. I still haven't spoken with the tall folks, but we are meeting with them on April 28th. The calendar will be acceptable to them as long as we have the information in there regarding the remote learning day, because we've already spoken to them about that. And I am speaking to the ASC president on Monday.
Still 2 weeks at Easter.
Yep. 2 weeks at Easter, the days at Christmas, which the winter break where the whole district is shut down. We have 17 paid holidays for 12-month staff, 15 paid holidays for the associates and the CSEA 10-month staff, and we have negotiated in there the additional holiday in June, which is relatively new.
And I'm expecting that graduation would be on June 23rd, 2023. They like we're going to try Friday night this year, and they like if the class wants to try in the school and you're agreeable to another Friday night graduation, we're going to try that. Okay. But that hasn't been set yet. I'm just getting ahead of myself.
All right, if you have any questions, let me know.
Again, not voting on this tonight. This is for the 26th. Really great job, Maria.
Thank you, Mr. Lord.
Members of the board, ladies and gentlemen of the viewing audience, and those in attendance, that is all we have for the millions watching at home. That is all we have, Mr. Petrosi.
Okay, want to jump right into the meeting, folks? Let's do it. Okay. All right, just give me a second here. All right, call the meeting to order. Special meeting, will everyone please stand for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we will have a prayer by Mrs. Dunn, please.
We ask, O Lord, to protect and watch over our board members, our staff, our families, and the entire community, so that in the strength of your grace, we may enjoy prosperity and possess the priceless gift of your peace as we bear all witness in this world. Thank you for your blessings. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Beautiful.
Thank you. Judy, you're up.
Mr. Bass?
Mr. Bass?
Present.
There he is.
Mr. Bilson? Mr. Consemi? Mr. Capizzi?
Yep, he's
Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Cudella?
Here.
Mr. Pareto?
Here.
Mr. Velardo? And Mr. Petrosi?
Yes,
All
thank you.
present.
Let's see, roll call is done. Anybody from the audience wish to speak? That was an easy one. Moving on to recommended actions from the superintendent of schools. Bid for musical instruments. Moved by Mr. Katsami, second by Mr. Bilson. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Mr. Bass? Earl?
Can you hear me?
We did not. Was that an affirmative vote, Mr. Bass?
Mr. Bass on that vote? Go ahead, Judy, move on.
Mr. Bilson? Mr. Consemi? Mr. Capizzi? Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Cudella?
Okay, Mr. Cadella, please. Could you hear me?
Yes, if you can hear me.
Paul.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
We'll call it 8.5 in favor.
How about you, Mr. Bass? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
I can hear you now. What's your vote, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor.
Sorry, Earl, you just voted for my mortgage, but thank you.
Russ is funny.
Recommended actions recommended actions from our superintendent, the important one, 3.01. Superintendent's recommendation on the general fund budget for school year 2022 and 23. I have a motion by Mr. Pareto, second by Mr. Capizzi. Any questions? And Mr. Lord, sorry? Questions?
I'm a little worried about Mr. Cadella right now.
Mr. Laurie,
Yes,
I know
thank
you
you.
had something to say, sir.
I do. Members of the board and to the public, I would like to tell you that it is the belief of our entire team and myself that we again are giving you the most responsible budget for educating 7,011 students next year in the Niagara Falls City School District. The budget we're presenting to you this evening has once again no increase to the tax levy. The budget that we're presenting to you has no decrease in the FTEs or full-time equivalent staff. The budget actually has an increase in the full-time equivalent staff, which is so necessary for the growth of our children. The budget we're presenting to you tonight not only has no reduction in staff, but in addition, but it has an increase in programs. Successful programs that have worked for our students, such as the PS2 or Post-Secondary Success Program that you've heard about. P-TECH, where you're paying beyond the grant for additional students to attend. A highly successful, already proven with data, expansion of a math AIS program. More mental health services inside of our schools with psychologists and social workers. The continued addition of school safety officers, meaning knowing that safety is paramount. The enhancement of the highly successful sister schools that has been a wonderful addition to our district this year, as well as a continuous upgrade in the facilities and maintenance equipment of our district. The budget that you approved last year, coming out of a pandemic, already began to show signs of success. Our special education graduation rate rose by 15%. Our overall graduation rate is up to 77%. Not where it needs to be, but a tremendous rise. The Sister Schools program that you approved last year, funded, and are expanding this year, has been a major, major success for 3 of our inner city schools. This budget continues to pay for the additional security that you brought on this year and increased without asking one question or giving one thought to saying, why are we doing this? The budget is also, for the first time, preparing to do some things that we've never been able to do, and that is to improve roofs and boiler systems without a capital improvement budget, but necessary nonetheless. We are prepared for growth in this district, not to stand still or not to regress. This responsible budget will lead us to even more growth. I need to be held accountable for that. I take on that challenge willingly. This budget, again, for the 6th year, doesn't assume but expects to receive casino money, but never counts on having $1 of that. This budget, after the first year of receiving American Rescue Funds, begins to step away from the reliance on American Rescue Funds over 2 years before they'll go away. During the time of last budget and now, we've completed another successful capital project with a project labor agreement, without injury or without lost time, under budget, and in a way that we were able to do additional things. This budget continues to not drain $1 in the end of any of our reserve funds that you have worked for the past countless number of years to build to a record level in case of a rainy day or an unforeseen circumstance. This budget continues our track record of moving our bond rating. And the use of the money in the budget all comes with a completely clean external audit completely clean external audit. This budget is recommended to you because it positions the school district for growth. I'm comfortable, I'm confident, I urge you to support this. I think it will put us in the best fiscal position for next year, but not only for next year, but for any potential cliff or loss of American Rescue funds that will someday be coming soon. So I strongly urge you, I'm confident of the way it was put together. It was all put together without the benefit of a state budget being in place. So we did our best to spend time with you over the last 3 months to give the taxpayers of this city our best thinking and our kids of this city our best hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Any other comments, questions? Judy, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass? We'll come back. Mr. Bilson?
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you,
No,
Mr.
I'm here,
Bass.
yes.
Thank you for that enthusiastic reply, Mr. Bass.
You voted twice.
Mr. Bilson is a yes. Mr. Kinsemi?
Yes.
Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? And Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
All in favor.
Great, thank you. And 3.02, acceptance and approval of the real property tax report card. Of 2223, moved by Mr. Katsemi, second by Mr. Bilson. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Kinsemi? Mr. Capizzi? Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank
My
you.
work is done.
Perfect. Reports. And there's no other speakers. Okay, Mr. Laurie, anything else?
I do just a couple of quick
Sure, go
reports
ahead.
for the public. Mr. Petrosi, just for the record, we are celebrating about 25 scholars from Niagara Falls High School on May 4th. Anybody in the listening audience, it's a Niagara Falls Education Foundation dinner. May 4th, we're also recognizing a couple of very distinguished alumni at that time. I want to mention that June 10th is the LaSalle Education Club dinner. And I would like to tell you, if you have a few moments on Saturday, April 30th, and I will remind you again on the 26th, but two significant things are happening in Niagara Falls. On our fields, on our baseball, hardball fields, on Saturday, September the 30th, Saturday, April the 30th, thank you, we are hosting in Western New York Baseball Day in Western New York on our fields. They selected our fields because they're the best. Baseball Day is a day when on Field 1 there will be 5 games, or 6 games featuring 12 teams, obviously, and on Field 2 there will be 6 games featuring 12 teams. There will be 24 Western New York baseball teams participating on our hardball fields on the 30th Saturday. I'm praying for good weather. The significance of this is the games are being played in honor of a longtime Depew High School baseball coach who has been stricken with ALS. It's very sadly. I think we all owe that gentleman and his illustrious baseball career a deed of support, and I'm glad we're doing it. But most powerfully, why I'm telling you this is because they wanted to host Baseball Day in Western New York at Niagara Falls High School. Secondarily, not secondarily, also on that date, the Special Olympics, Western New York Special Olympics, had to move from their venue. But the inside of Niagara Falls High School on April 30th will be hosting all of the Special Olympics inside. And they chose to have Niagara Falls High School as their venue for Special Olympics. I think between Special Olympics and a day of baseball for a very worthy cause, a reason it came to Niagara Falls was because of what this board did for their facilities and how gracious you are in offering them. On to a safety issue. I want you to know that during the vacation, the Niagara Falls Police Department SWAT team will be drilling, doing a practice drill on the 19th of April at Maple Avenue School. Why Maple? Because it will be the 10th of the 11 schools that the SWAT team actually does their exercises in. 79th Street will be the last one. I tell you that because it's another safety thing we're doing so that the SWAT team knows the inside of the building and they'll drill there all day. That will make, once we do 79th, every school will have had a SWAT team type drill. And our new security director is looking to bring back an active shooter simulation during a school day. We just haven't scheduled that yet. Next, I want to just say a couple of academic things. I made this comment earlier. We have successfully completed computerized 3 through 8 testing. Despite all of the pandemic, despite all of the interruptions this year, our computer-based 3 through 8 testing went off without a hitch. And we are one of the, growing districts that does all their tests only on computers. You committed to all that money for technology. Ray led that. Rick and others in the curriculum office made sure people were ready, and the teachers delivered it. So I'm proud of what they did. I'm proud of the way the kids performed. There's always frustration at those times, but the kids really held tough like Niagara Falls kids do. Next, I want to caveat that with this comment, and it speaks to my point about testing. In the month of March alone, Abbott School lost a staff member and 5 parents to death. In the month of March alone, 5 parents and a staff member. And I'm not talking about COVID here, ladies and gentlemen. That is what our kids are coming to school on their shoulders. And after Abbott gave their success report, it just blew me away. That's what our children are burdened with. So I know there are other stories out there we can't tell, but it was particularly poignant to me and to the team when we heard the success they were having, especially among kids who attend school, and the staff was dealing with that kind of trauma. I wouldn't take that lightly. I know you're not. Finally, Niagara Falls High School is in full preparation for full in-person class day, prom, post-prom, outdoor graduation. All things are go. And I'm really happy that we're back to that. With respect to COVID, we are having cases, about 1 a day. Some days we don't have any, some days we have 2. There are cases, we're still reporting them. It has tapered right now. There is no pattern, meaning if we have 2 cases, one's from one school, one's from another school. There's no pattern anywhere that we've had 8 cases and they're all here. We're watching COVID. I'm not being cavalier or flip about COVID. I'm watching it closely. And I'm pleased to report, yes, we are having about an average of a case a day. And mainly it's students. It is significantly down and there's no patterns. I also wanted to tell you, because we've allowed students to wear masks, and I did a survey of the schools getting the principals' feedback, just so you know. We're about, right now, 3 in 10 students. About 30% of the students are still wearing masks appropriately. There's another group of them that are protecting their chins. But there's about 30% of our kids that are still wearing masks. That's a compilation of some schools are higher, some schools are lower. But when you average them all in, and again, this is not a scientific survey, this is a principal saying, for my school, it's about 4 in 10. For my school, it's about 2 in 10. So it's about 3 in 10, just so you have that in your knowledge base. And finally, after tomorrow, and it was a long stretch, a good 6-week stretch, the students and many of the staff take a very well-deserved spring Easter respite. And that doesn't mean our work stops. Earl has a full litany of work prepared for his crews to do, floors, waxing, et cetera, but a well-needed break for students and family. And I just give my prayers and wishes for their safety and return on April 25th. Once you're done, Mr. President, I will give you the formal request for an executive session.
Thanks, Mr. Laurie. Board members, Mr. Velardo.
I just want to thank the financial staff, Becky and Julie and Richard, for a great job getting this budget ready. And I think Mr. Laurie might have had some input, I'm not sure.
Nothing.
But
It's all them.
job well done, and we're looking for a great next year. Thank you.
Thanks, Dick. Rob?
Thank you to everyone involved with the presentations tonight, the budget. Mr. Laurie, great job. To my fellow board members, great job. To the staff, great job. And I wish you all a wonderful and well-deserved break. And we'll see you all back refreshed and hopefully happy, safe, and sound.
Thanks, Rob. Jimmy?
I would also like to extend my thank you to our Human Resource Officer for getting all that information to us. Thank you, Maria. Becky and Joel and Rich, thank you very much for all your help. And Rick, it's been 13 and a half or 14 years here. I'd like to see finally some humor. Thank you.
Oh, he's funny. Oh, he's funny. Understated, funny. He amazes me. He wasn't like that until we started working this closely, though.
Thanks, Jim. Clara? Microphone, Clara? Thanks, Clara. Mike?
Thanks, Russ. I got another quick, fast, and efficient meeting. It says, don't tell too many people this. They're all going to want to run for election. Getting in and out of here within a couple hours. Mark, great presentations. The same to your staff, too. I've been on a lot of boards in the city, and this is very, very efficient, very precise, very detailed. So kudos to you and the staff, and also to the fellow board members. I've been with you for 3 or 4 months now, too, and one word comes to mind when thinking about all of you, and that's the word class. So thank you for appointing me, and thanks for having me aboard, and I enjoy it.
Thank you, Mr. Mike. Tony?
Again, congratulations to our financial staff for putting this very difficult budget together. And you guys forego a lot. You work very hard. You have your personal lives and you have things that are, jawing at us all the time. And the, COVID and everything else. You guys do an outstanding job. And I'm proud to serve this board and be able to, be alongside of you guys. You guys are awesome. Again, personnel also, it's getting real busy. We'll be ramping up here pretty good. But again, academically, financially, we're in great shape. And again, you folks have a nice, safe spring break and a happy Easter.
Thanks, Tony. Anybody to my left? About to my right? Okay, then I will finish up. First of all, thank you, everybody. Great
Were you
budget
referring
year.
to us?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about you, too. How about Mr. Bass? Forgive me, Earl.
Okay, no worries. Just wanted to say thank you to Julie and Becky and staff for the budget. Thank you to the board for allowing Tony and I to go out to San Diego. We learned some information. We made some contacts. I heard Tony talking about the program down in Carolina. I think that there's someone that program is something that we could learn from as far as the P-Tech, because they're in a unique but kind of similar situation to us here in Niagara Falls. Also, I wanted to thank the district publicly and my fellow board members for voting for the HBCU college tour. Kids they learned a lot. So far, we've had at least 2 of our students be accepted to one of the 4 schools that we attended while we were away. And I'm sure there'll be more to follow. And it's pretty amazing that we happen to do that, because a lot of the deadlines are starting to close. But I told my board members this, but we had a student get accepted to one of the universities within 24 hours. She found out she was accepted before we even got back home from the trip. So it was a huge success. And I mean, people were asking about it before we even got back. The first day, there were other students asking about how can they sign up and attend in the future. So I just want to say thank you for that, and I hope everyone enjoys their spring break. Thank you.
Mr. Bass, one of the things I think I would like to do is at one of the meetings, maybe May 5th, is to bring as many students as they want. And I won't have a presentation. I will just ask the students to spend 1 minute each telling them something they enjoyed and learned from that trip, because I think it would be quite enlightening, as well as the chaperones. But that's on my future meeting agenda.
Oh, I think they would. I even received information. One of the students reached out to me on Teams and sent me a message thanking us, and he said that, he learned a lot, and that he plans on steering in HBCU in the future. So I think we were right out there. It really was a productive trip.
Thanks, Earl. Paul?
I have no comment, thank you.
Thanks, Paul. I'll be real brief. First of all, thank you, staff. Great budget year. I remember when we had to have a capital project to buy a toaster. We've come a long way. And our staff, I hope you have a great holiday. I know it was a rough start this year, but things have settled in. And I hope it's a sign of a great finish. Thanks for all your hard work, and keep up the good work. And saying that, I know we need an executive session tonight for Mr. Laurie. You want to give the items, please?
I do. We have an I'm asking for your vote for an executive session for 2 items. They both fall under the same permissible forms of motions, and they are both to discuss collective bargaining that is permitted, collective bargaining negotiations that is permitted under the Taylor Law, and it involves 2 union contracts. So if Mr. Wolf is listening, this board has not been in executive session since February 24th, 2022. It's a number of meetings. We'll have only 2 items, collective bargaining, 2 units. I think that's all I'm obligated to say, and there will be no action taking after those 2 items this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Laurie. Do I have a motion to go in executive session? Motion by Mr. Pareto, second by Mr. Velardo. Okay, we'll call the roll. Mr. Mike, executive session. Clara. Nick. Rob. Jimmy. Tony. Earl.
Yes.
And Paul.
Yes.
Paul? Okay. We're all in favor. That's 9 yeas, no nays. Okay, thank you, everybody. Good night.